Let's look at tonight's Spurs Bulls game. Bringing our guests, we're going to ask, will the roster be different after the NBA trade deadline?
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, this is Hot Rod.
And I'm RC from the Cybertron Spurs.
And you're listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs. We're here on the Locked On NBA Network. I am your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Glad to have y'all back. Hope everybody's having a great work week. We'll get you through it right here on Locked On Spurs. Hey, what are we talking about today? We're going to be looking at tonight's matchup, Spurs Bulls. I'll give you a very quick preview. And then we're going to bring in our guest, Raul Dominguez of the AP. We're going to be asking if the Spurs roster will be different after the NBA trade deadline. Catch up with some Spurs news and notes, including that whole drama about the fish jersey. Y'all know what I'm talking about. That and more right here on Locked On Spurs. Hey, you guys are the everydayers. We appreciate y'all making Locked On Spurs your first listen every single day. You guys do it every day, and I'm happy to see that. So, yeah, your Spurs are back in action today, taking on the Bulls in Chicago. Let's get you ready for that game. Well, whatever, we'd like to know what the outcome might be, but let's go ahead and catch you and preview up the game. So your Spurs 4-22. They're visiting the Bulls today. The good news is the Bulls are coming off a game versus the Lakers, so a second game back-to-back to them. Maybe that bodes well for the Spurs. We'll find out. In case you missed it, in the last game, the Spurs are coming off a loss versus the Bucks, 132-119. No Wemby. Wemby did not play due to right ankle soreness. Zach Collins had 22 points and 8 rebounds. Sohan had 9 points and 11 rebounds. Keldon Johnson, 28 points, 12 rebounds, leading the team. Devin Vassell with 17 points on the loss. For tonight's game, Wemby and Keldon Johnson are probable. So if that turns into unavailable or out, might be a long night for you Spurs fans. Jersey watch. The Spurs will be in their white Association Edition jerseys tonight versus Chicago. So let's preview it. Let's look at the Chicago side first, then we'll get to the Spurs. So DeMar DeRozan, former Spur. Boy, he loves playing against his former team, doesn't he? He sees silver and black, and he just lights up. And it could be all those lessons learned from Popovich and why he's able to be a good player against your Spurs. But DeMar DeRozan has scored at least 30 points in 3 of his last 5 meetings against the Spurs. He's averaging about 28.8 points per game against his former team. So Sohan, defenders are going to have to really key on him to slow him down tonight if he does play. So DeMar DeRozan, the Spurs killer, sounds like it. So Spurs will have their hands full with him. We're on the topic of players for the Bulls side. Let's continue that. Kobe White. What is it with this guy? He sees silver and black and he just becomes a DeMar DeRozan. Kobe White, Chicago's Kobe White, is averaging 19.4 points per game in the last 5 matchups against the Spurs. Another problem the Spurs got to deal with tonight. So 2 players right off the bat that you're going to want to key on if they're having a good game where it might be a long night for your silver and black. Now, this kind of bodes well for the Spurs. In the last 10 games versus Chicago, it's split 5-5. The Spurs, though, the Bulls are averaging about 115 points per game in those 10 meetings. So not dramatically getting blown. The Spurs are not getting blown out by Chicago in the last 10. So hopefully the Spurs can get the 1-up game and break that tie in 6-5. But that's interesting, right? Despite DeMar and putting up those numbers, Spurs are actually dead even with the Bulls in the last 10 games. So what about your Spurs? Well, the Spurs are on a losing streak. Not only on a 2-game losing streak right now, but on a 2-game losing streak against Chicago. They're 0-2 in the last 2 meetings. So that doesn't bode well for the Spurs. Hopefully they can snap 2 losing streaks tonight. And Eastern Conference teams on the road. What is it about that for San Antonio? The Spurs are winless this year against the East away from San Antonio. They're 0-3. Last loss coming off Milwaukee, an Eastern team. So the East Conference on the road has not been kind to your Spurs. So there you have it, your quick Spurs Bulls preview. Coming up next, we're going to be joined by Raul Dominguez of the AP San Antonio Spurs beat. He's going to be joining me to talk about whether or not the Spurs roster will look different after the NBA trade deadline and catch up some Spurs news and notes. Some old faces are investing in the Spurs, and those Reds Fish jerseys and the controversy. We're going to get to that coming up next on Locked On Spurs. But before we bring in our guest, I want to talk about eBay Motors. Our partners at eBay Motors have teamed up with Locked On Fantasy basketball host Josh Lloyd to bring you some of the best fantasy picks each week, all season long. So whether you're prepping for a daily draft or scouting the waiver wire, every week we're going to provide you players that are guaranteed to fit your roster. So let's see who Josh picked for us at this week's eBay's Guaranteed Fit Fantasy Picks of the Week. And lo and behold, he has a Spur on the list. Yes, he's advocating, pushing that you look at Malachi Branham. Go figure. We're going to be talking about him next. He says that he seems to be a starter for the Spurs in the short term, at least, and he's flashed some increased passing skills, increasing his fantasy viability. Yeah, getting those minutes on the court with the starting unit is going to bump up his numbers. So again, he is picking Malachi Branham for this week's eBay's Motors Fantasy Picks of the Week. That's eBay's Guaranteed Fit Fantasy Picks of the Week. So he has Malachi. Go get him. Look, Josh Lloyd from Locked On Fantasy Basketball is going to help you win your fantasy championship. And eBay Motors knows a championship team is about each player being a perfect fit. Same with your vehicle. Look, do you have any personal experience trying to buy a part for your car? You've been having some tough going about it, looking for it. What about your dream ride? Do you have your dream ride? Do you think it needs some fine tuning, some extra parts, maybe upgrades? What about that car that you loved? You want to get it back? You want to just go to buy one and then look for the parts for it? So look, if you want to keep your car running, you want to fix your car up, or you want that cool upgrade that you've really been wanting, you want to go to eBay Motors right now. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you can make sure your ride stays running smoothly. They got brake kits, LED lights, roof rack, bumpers, whatever your baby needs, eBay Motors has it. And with the eBay Guaranteed Fit, it's guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, or your money back. Plus, at these prices, you're going to be burning rubber, not all that cash. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. eBay Guaranteed Fit only is available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
This is Emily Swallow, and you are listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
And as promised, everybody, we are back right here on Locked On Spurs with our guest, Raul Dominguez. He is the AP Spurs writer in San Antonio. Make sure to follow him on X at a new name. It's Dominguez Cinco. A little change up there, Raul. What happened?
I changed it because of you, because it was once you actually read it, it's pretty long. So I was just like, I'll change it.
All right. So what's the meaning behind this one? What's this one?
Same thing, last name and then five, my 5 kids. So
5 kids. Wow, yeah, 5 kids. Wow. I got 0. None.
They're coming. They're coming.
Make sure to follow him on X at Dominguez Cinco. And a great follow. I get a chat with him during Spurs games in the media room. Really good guy. Not as nerdy as me. No, actually, he is nerdy than me. He's just a little bit more key about it. I'm more blah about it. But I'm pretty sure. By the way, before we hit record, everybody, we had a little nerd session. We recommended some shows to each other. So, for those y'all survived a bullet there. So, but anyway, we're just talking about the silver and black. And we're going to piggyback from yesterday's show, Raul. Yesterday's topic was, should the Spurs be active in the NBA trade market that's upcoming? The consensus was depends. That was consensus. We had our guests say, sure, go for it. I was more like, just forget about it. Wait till the offseason. But, so to piggyback off that topic is basically kind of, we can look into the crystal ball here. So Raul and I are going to look at the crystal ball. We're going to try to see what the future tells us. And the question is we're going to present to the crystal ball is, will this Spurs roster be different after the trade deadline? So basically, we're assuming the Spurs may or may not make a move. Raul, what does your crystal ball say? Will the Spurs roster look different after NBA trade deadline?
I think it's going to look different. Not too different, but at this point, they're not going anywhere. That they're obviously building for the future. I don't know how big of an asset they are, but veterans like McDermott, Devontae, maybe Zach. I wouldn't think so, but maybe Zach. Depending on what they can get back. If they can get a first-round pick, package them for a first-round pick, they'll definitely do so. But I can't – of those, I don't see Doug staying here. I think the Spurs will trade him for second-round pick, maybe a young player in return.
Right.
I think part of it is just, again, they're building for the future. If they trade him, then that frees up minutes for somebody else. Then also, I think they would want to give Doug a chance maybe to compete for a title.
Right.
They've done that in the past with veterans that they'll trade them just to give them the opportunity to win a ring. But I think the roster will look fairly similar. But again, I would think Doug's gone. Devontae, they may, who knows? Maybe they waive him to give him an opportunity to play somewhere else because he's not getting minutes right now. Zach, I don't think they'll trade Zach, but who knows? Maybe somebody offers him first round pick. It may be too much for them to turn down. I definitely think Doug won't be here in the second half, and possibly Devontae. And again, it's nothing against them, but these are the kind of moves that the Spurs have sort of traditionally made recently.
Yeah, I agree with you on with Devontae because what baffles me about Devontae is that Pop openly admits in conferences that you and I attend where he says, "Oh, we hit those offensive droughts," but you got a guy that's pretty much instant buckets. And once he gets going, and he just sits there. Yeah. So that's a little perplexing.
Him and Julian are both. The thing is, they're not the kind of guys where I think they'd have that every game, but use them in certain spots. They'll get 10 real quick, and then
send them down. Yeah, I mean they could have definitely used that against the Bucks recently. Where they got close. I was a little stunned. I was expecting a disaster from. Kudos to the Spurs. They made it somewhat interesting, but nevertheless, I think Devontae likely will probably see another uniform after the trade deadline. It's interesting you said about picks. You don't tell that to Spurs fans right now. Spurs fans will be flipping tables right now if they say more picks. What are you talking about? More picks? They already have how many first rounders? How many second rounders? You're hearing Spurs fans, say, no, we want instant players that can help right now. And I understand that, but at the same time, I'm thinking like the season's done already. It's cooked. It's over. There's going to be no play-in. It's going to be a short season, and they're done. Yeah, and a long off season.
Yeah, and the thing about the picks is, maybe they don't necessarily use them themselves. They'd always package them maybe for in the off season. Maybe they see someone that they can go get, or maybe they want to move up in the draft. If they have four second round picks, in a certain draft or certain two drafts, trade a couple of them, maybe trade a first round pick, if they want to move up. There's nothing wrong with having assets. You look at Oklahoma City, they have such a young team. They have all those assets. I mean, they are set for Oklahoma City set for the next 5-10 years.
OKC is set. Yeah. Would you throw Orlando in that pile?
I think so. I think as far as in terms of what I see as far as like potential for the future, definitely Oklahoma City, San Antonio. I know Spurs fans don't see it right now, but the talent they have, with the picks they have, with all the cap space they have, I put Spurs second, and Orlando probably third.
So I'm with you with Devontae. I'm with you with Doug. I think the Spurs will say, Doug, you're a trooper. Never make waves. But go chase yourself a ring. He doesn't have that on his. At least I don't think he has that on his resume, right? He doesn't have a title, right? So, I could definitely see that move. Interesting, you brought up Zach Collins. It's interesting you bring that up because statistically, he's having a pretty good season. The numbers are good. He's up and down the 3 line, of course. But I would think that maybe he becomes a bigger asset for the Spurs to keep because of the injury to Charles Bassey. Does that affect you in any way when you predict that maybe, just maybe, Zach may be on the trading block?
I honestly don't. I don't think that they would do it, but I'm just saying, like, if somebody decides that they want to throw a first round pick at the Spurs, it would be hard for them to turn it down. But
yeah, it will be.
To me, Zach's one of my favorite players. I mean, he plays hard. He doesn't take grief off of anybody. You know, he's the first one. If somebody pushes one of his teammates around, he's the first one in that.
Oh yeah.
You know,
in the mix
group to push back. So I don't think they should trade him, but I'm just sort of speculating because obviously talented big men are hard to find in the NBA. So who knows if a veteran team comes seeking someone. If they were to offer a first round pick, I think it would be hard for the Spurs to turn that down. But I don't see them trading them. But I didn't think they'd trade Derek White either. So.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody thought they'd trade DeJounte Murray either, but here we are. And because of those deals, the Spurs are in the position now that they are. They if you do a checklist one, win the lottery and the draft, check. Got Wemby. Part of that checklist is development. Okay, you started last year. It's, to be honest, it's continuing this year.
Yeah.
So check. And now it's how they position themselves. Do they position for the now, which could be the trade deadline or the offseason? I think they're going to be more active in the offseason. Versus the trade deadline. But do you see them perhaps swinging for the fences and maybe flipping a Keldon Johnson? A player like that? I mean, they did it in recent history.
Yeah.
Derek White and DeJounte. So I wouldn't be surprised if they flip a Keldon Johnson.
I don't think they would. I think Keldon's such a mainstay of the team. I think it would have to take just a heck of a deal for them to
like what the Atlanta Hawks offered.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. DeJounte, but I think they want to kind of give this team at least a year to kind of see what they can do together. And Keldon's got a great deal. I mean, that'd be a trade that I think any NBA team would want: a young player, talented player, and he's got a contract that is easily you can easily fit into your system to where it's not going to push your salary cap. So I don't see them trading him. But again, I didn't see Derek. I didn't see DeJounte. So, but I think at this point they've reset. They've done a hard reset. I can't picture them doing another hard reset. Not with Wemby here. That would I think it would leave a bad taste in everybody's mouth if they did a hard reset again.
Yeah. That's something you and I agree on, because I did bring that up in yesterday's show. I said if they do a major deal, it feels like they're hitting reset after reset after reset. Like eventually that has to stop. Like you have to stop hitting reset.
Yeah.
So if you do a major deal like flipping a Keldon or a Devin or something to that effect, you're doing another reset. And I mean, again, the offer would have to be just bowl them over. And they probably would tell Wemby, like, look at what we're getting. Like he would have to be. I think he would be on board with it. But you look at this team. I do think this roster will look slightly different, but not a major overhaul like you saw in recent years with Derek and DeJounte, because those were, I mean, you and I and probably the rest of the Spurs fandom were like, what, the Spurs made a deal? Is Bob Bass in the office again? Is Trader Bob back? What happened here? But hey, Spurs fans, nobody would be shocked if something does happen. Brian Wright has proven that he can and he will flip some of these fan favorite, these young talented stars, from DeJounte to Derek to Jakob Poeltl.
And they're all great deals. I know fans are upset about the Derek White deal, but that was a great deal for the Spurs, the Jakob trade was a great deal for them. DeJounte deal was incredible for them. I mean, three first-round picks, unprotected picks. I mean,
you had to do that one. Yeah,
you have to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to do that. Yeah, so here we are in agreement. We think the Spurs roster will look slightly different after the trade deadline. We don't predict any type of major overhaul in this point of their rebuild. When we get back, we're going to tackle some Spurs news and notes that you may have missed, including familiar faces back investing in the Spurs and Spurs fans flipping tables over a jersey, a fish jersey. Not kidding, a fish jersey. We'll talk about that coming up next right here on Locked On Spurs.
Hey, this is Chris Sabat, and you're listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
But before we continue our chat with Raul Dominguez, I want to talk to you about BetterHelp. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Look, everybody can use some therapy at times. Look, times get rough, holidays, depression, what have you. And sometimes you need to know that there's somebody there for you in case you do need to talk with somebody. That's why BetterHelp is there for you. Look, give online therapy a try. at betterhelp.com/lockedonnba and get yourself your way to being the best you that you can be. Look, talking about things can be tough. I get it. You're trying to figure out, for the holidays, what do I get for my family? What do I get for myself? The hell times are just great times where you're just having all your stuff go through your head. Yeah. And it can get real chaotic. And again, BetterHelp is there for you. Look, if you've ever benefited from therapy, why not try it again? If you're off it, go back on it with BetterHelp. So whether you've been in therapy personally or want to restart it or get your first toes dip into it, that's where you have to go to BetterHelp right now. Look, learning positive coping skills, how to set boundaries, what empowers you to be the best version of yourself. That's where BetterHelp is there for you. And look, if you experience major trauma, again, go to BetterHelp. So if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, suited to your schedule. You just fill out a brief questionnaire. You get matched with a licensed therapist, switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. It's the season of giving, so give yourself what you need with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedonnba today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedonnba.
Hey everybody, this is Nathan Ray Clark from Criminal Minds and Modern Family, and you are listening to Locked On Spurs, hosted by Victor Wembanyama's new best friend, Jeff Garcia.
And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs with my guest. He is Raul Dominguez, the AP Spurs writer in San Antonio. Follow him on X at Dominguez5. Also heard during the break a rumor, Raul, I want to verify this with you, that apparently that you're the only person ever to make Dr. Doom quake in his metal boots, like get scared. Is that true?
No, that was the thing. So that wasn't me. Actually, I think it was Mike Monroe. He's can be a bit frightening. I'm just kidding.
Again, make sure to follow him on X at Dominguez5. He is your go-to guy for all things Spurs as well. So check him out on X. So we're going to catch up with some Spurs news and notes, and some familiar faces are back. Raul investing in the team, the Red McCombs family. They are back. They're part of the investor group. Spurs fans know Red McCombs, was big in bringing San Antonio an NBA team at that time it was an NBA team, but eventually the merger. But local investment, another sign that Spurs fans pump the brakes. Maybe they're not moving after all.
Yeah, and it's wonderful to see. I mean, when I saw that they sent out the press release this morning, it's the McCombs family. There's 4 generations of that family now, that are part of the McCombs Enterprises. They own car dealerships, real estate, and investments. And I didn't realize it, but Red was one of the first investors into the Circuit of Americas, the track that's in Austin.
Oh, I didn't know that either. Wow.
So, I mean, and they are Red and was obviously a great businessman. When he first took over the Spurs, he knew how big TV was going to be. He knew, different little things that people didn't even think about. Reason why he brought Gervin in, because he knew Gervin would be big for TV, for the spotlight. So he's obviously passed on his business knowledge to his family, and it's wonderful to see that family back with the Spurs, because of everything they've done for the community, how much they mean to the community, and like you're saying, fans should probably breathe a sigh of relief because McCombs family is obviously, this is their home. So, they want to keep the Spurs here because their grandfather, Red wanted it to stay in San Antonio.
You called it right. The McCombs families has called San Antonio home since 1958. So they're not likely going to be on board of saying, hey, move them to Austin or move them to Vegas, But and even if that does were to come up in the future, I bet they will put a big fight up to not let that happen. So there you go, Spurs fans, some local money being invested into your local NBA team. And finally, perhaps the biggest scuttlebutt right now among Spurs fans is a jersey, a fish jersey. Not kidding. Okay, so I think we need to set this up because maybe there's some fans outside of San Antonio who don't understand this. But so in San Antonio, there's a local seafood fast food restaurant chain called Fred's Fish Fry. Okay, it's been around San Antonio for forever, long time. So what happened was there was a San Antonio artist who created a mock mashup between Fred's Fish Fry design and the Spurs City Edition jersey. He mashed them up, and basically he used some familiar designs that Fred Fish uses in their boxes, their seafood boxes. So basically, there's like a red and blue fish. They're kind of like jumping out of the water, and they're known for like a checker pattern. I guess that's the best way to say it, Raul. Like a red and blue checker pattern on their boxes and their bags and what have you. Started off innocent like that. Well, some online stores saw that and saw the recognition that it was getting, so they started creating designs based off that. And the creator of that design, again, that was a design. He didn't make a jersey or nothing. He just mocked it up like on Photoshop or something. Got in partnership, allegedly, with another online store to coordinate and create jerseys of that, now tangible jerseys, and then money going to the creator and of course with the store. But basically it took off, and Fred's Fish Fry was not happy about that. So now they've sued 21 online stores for basically doing what they did without permission. And now you fast forward. So that lawsuit is still ongoing. You fast forward to yesterday, and a couple days ago, and what happens? Fred's Fish Fry releases its own officially stamped, this is our jersey, and fans are not happy about it. Why? Because it almost mirrors the jersey that they're suing about. This is how bad the Spurs season is, when this is probably the biggest news right now. Raul, your thoughts?
It gives fans something else to yell about besides, the rotations or, whatever else they're griping about. But Adrian Galvan, I was looking it up. Adrian Galvan was the designer, and he just did it just kind of as almost as a joke, because people weren't that excited by the new City Edition jerseys the Spurs have. I mean, the hemisphere logo is nice, but the rest of it's a little bland. Iffy, they wanted something a little more tied to the city, a little nicer. More aesthetically pleasing, but they didn't like that, so he made that jersey just as a joke. People liked it, and so apparently he reached an agreement with someone to make shirts.
And it was called Wade Williamson.
Yeah, and so from someone told me that knows the designer, he said that he didn't make any money off of this. This was just maybe just a handshake agreement to say, you can use my design or something. But Fred's sued them. But the thing that I thought was kind of funny was, because that initial jersey had San Antonio Spurs and then the Spurs Spurs logo. I mean, Spurs had every right to sue.
Yeah.
Sue
well,
them but they
one of the defendants did reach out to me and did confirm that the Spurs, and I think this is what maybe Fred should have done. The Spurs did reach out to one of the defendants to say, stop doing that. Cease and desist letter.
Yeah.
Just stop. Okay, that's it. So, and I think that was probably the best approach. Keep it private. Mm-hmm. Here's the letter. If you keep it up, well, we warn you.
Then we have to do something. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what should have been done. Like I said, the Spurs could have sued, but they didn't. The NBA could have sued. They didn't. Because they know that. I mean, if the Spurs and the NBA took that action, they'd have to be driving down military every weekend. Giving cease and desist letters or lawsuits.
And I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, because again, for those who are not in San Antonio, you can go pretty much any part in San Antonio, but mainly usually in the south side or maybe in the east side, west side of town. Mm-hmm. You'll see on the corner streets people just putting up bootleg jerseys, bootleg T-shirts. Mm-hmm. I mean, and it's common during the Manu Ginobili era. There was a mashup of Manu and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Mm-hmm. During Tony Parker's time, there was a mashup of Spider-Man and Tony Parker. They were just being sold out in the open. Mm-hmm. So I think that's another reason why Spurs fans are having a lot of backlash at the restaurant, because this is just, I want to say just a thing in San Antonio, but it's a fun thing. And it feels like they're just being, just raining on the parade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I believe Galvan also did I'm not sure if he's the one, but I believe he did one of Whataburger and maybe Bill Miller's, I think.
Yes, I think you're right. Yeah.
But I mean, the Fred's was the one that caught on because,
Yeah.
Fred's is kind of an underground institution for San Antonio. People always joke around, hey, there's never anyone in the parking lots at Fred, but they've been open for, how many years. So, it's people like Fred's. They like the design. I obviously liked it on the Spurs jersey, because it felt like San Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
So, to me, maybe what Fred should have done is maybe reach an agreement with the designer to, allow them to use that design.
Mm-hmm.
They obviously would have had to take the Spurs stuff off, but
mm-hmm.
They could have done that. And to me, that to me seems like a better solution. Like I understand that Fred's wants to, keep their trademarks and such, but I don't know. To me, it was a step.
It got out of hand. Yeah, it got out of hand. And as of this recording, the lawsuit is still ongoing. One of the defendants, Bear County Social Apparel, he got a hold of me and gave me his statement.
Mm-hmm.
And basically he said that he was willing to work with them. Like there was no need for this, like just chill out. He went from 0 to 100. There was, credit the Spurs. At least they did it the right way. Like, okay, we caught you. Stop it. Just stop. And you keep on going, then okay, things might get a little crazy. But kudos on the Spurs for taking that approach. But yeah, I mean, Bill Miller just went from 0 to 100. What's interesting though, and hey, I'm just saying what Fred's put out there. You can buy their jerseys for about $55, I believe, cash only. Interesting. Hey, that's what they say, cash only, Raul.
I didn't know that. So that's
They literally put that on their social media. Here's where you can pick up the jersey, and it's cash only. So it just feeds into that myth, that the whole rumor / joke in San Antonio that why are they always open, but there's never anybody there. Like how are they getting their money? Interesting. Just makes people go. It's back in the day. CNC Music Factory had a song called "Things That Make You Go." This is exactly what it is. Everybody's like, If I could do that emoji right now, like, I'm like, what's going on here? Hoping in my dream, they just say, all right, fine. We'll drop the lawsuit, just y'all just stop it. Don't do it again. Or I like your idea is like, let's work together. Let's all work together. Let's find a happy middle because and it goes with all San Antonio do not live in San Antonio. There's a saying in San Antonio called puro. It's Puro. That's Spanish for pure. Like you're being, good to your own people. You're being, solid to the community. That's the connotation. So a lot of the Spurs fans are saying Fred's is not being puro right now. So, and because they're from San Antonio, it was based in San Antonio.
And the thing that's funny that you mentioned that. I mean, Fred's got so much great publicity initially off of this, people loving the jersey, people talking about Fred's and, people talking about, oh man, this is making me hungry. I'm going to go over there. Like they got so much great publicity off the mock, and again, I understand Fred's being upset by logo infringement, but like you said, wish they had done something else, kind of worked around this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I want to see which Spurs fan is going to be brave enough to wear an official Fred's jersey at the games.
I saw a T-shirt, not a jersey, but I saw a Fred's T-shirt at the last game.
Yeah, no, I've seen them before, and I think people have bought those from the Bear County Social Apparel. It's been that kind of year, everybody. We're talking about a fish jersey. It's been that bad, but hey, the Locked On Spurs, they always tell me, Raul, hey, what is going on in the community with Spurs fans? Well, this is what's actually going on. I'm not making this up. For those higher ups at Locked On Network, this is what's going on right now in San Antonio. I'm not making this up. A fan fighting back against a company over a jersey, a mashup jersey. So
and it's a temporary distraction from the blowout losses recently. I mean, so. Yeah, make them forget about it at least for a little bit. So those blowout losses.
Yeah, the Spurs are probably like, thank goodness, this is going on. Like distraction from what's going on the court. But there you have it, some Spurs news and notes. Hey, we're done talking. We want to hear from you. Do you agree or disagree that the Spurs roster will look different after the NBA trade deadline? Do you think it'll be dramatically different, or just a little different, like myself and Raul think. And what do you think about the Fred's Fish Jersey fans, Spurs fans drama, and Red McCombs, the Combs family, back in the investor group for the Spurs? Good news right there. Let us know what's going on. And we need to know from you, Raul, what is going on in your neck of the woods. Tell us what you got cooking.
Oh, just just with the Alamo Bowl coming up, I'm going to be covering that, and then just kind of keeping an eye on the Spurs, so seeing what's going on with them. Pop's birthday, 75th birthday is coming up. I think in a 2-3 weeks. So I may try and sneak in a happy birthday to Pop during one of the media conferences. I did that one time, and Pop just looked at me deadpan, and he goes, "Like that's supposed to mean something to me?"
Yeah. He'll probably do that again. He'll probably say it again. I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, follow Raul on X at Dominguez5. See, he makes it more user friendly for everybody. You see? Look at that. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Free and available wherever you get podcasts, Google Play. We got iTunes, we got Spotify, we got the Kens 5 Plus app, we got YouTube. So many ways for you to check out everything that's going on here at Locked On Spurs. And again, we appreciate you. You guys are always the everydayers. We appreciate you coming here every single day. Hey, Locked On Sports has a new 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. You heard that right, 24/7. First ever. It's made of the local experts, the national host, for all leagues, MLB, NBA, NFL, it's all there. Go subscribe to it on YouTube, Locked On Sports Today. So for Raul, the Doom Conqueror Dominguez, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.